How to get safe water. I mean, everybody thinks the water is safe, or at least we're told tap water is safe enough. But in a world today where good enough or safe enough just isn't, then how do we know that we actually have safe water? What do we do to ensure the water that we're drinking is good for our health, is safe for us and our children, our families to drink? And how can we ensure that the water that we're drinking is not just safe to drink, but safe to give to our plants, safe to shower in, and safe to cook in? Now, a lot of us may take for granted the condition of our water. We may take for granted the water that comes out of our tap. And for many of us, we don't really have another choice, because if the water out of our tap doesn't work, we're left to go to a grocery store or some other source of tap water, because most of the bottled water out there, I think over 55% of the bottled water brands out there, are actually just tap water or purified forms of water. And so we really want to understand, what is the real good water to drink? Where can we find it? And what does that even mean to have safe water? So I think we can all agree what dirty water is water that has contaminants, that water that has chemicals, water that has been treated and not properly cleaned. Almost all of the water that we get out of the tap water system today, even if it left the tap facility or the water utility fine, it travels through a lot of tap water pipes that are dirty, old, and they're leaving a lot of the tap water disgusting and toxic because of all of the sludge that it passes through on the way from leaving the utility company to making it to your home. So it might have been clean when it left the utility, but by the time it's at your home, it's definitely something that needs a little bit of cleaning up. So how do we get our water safe? The next new thing, or the old thing that's as old as day, but we are putting a new emphasis on, is endpoint or point of use filtration. And that essentially means a device or a system, some kind of filter or some kind of purification system that we're using when we need to use the water. And that's more important now than ever, because we have so many contamination problems like nanoplastics, forever chemicals, and not to mention the heavy metals that we always knew were an issue in our water. So there's different filters for different contaminants that we need to remove. For example, if we want to remove odors and taste from our water, activated carbon or activated charcoal is one of the best and easiest ways that we can remove the odor and taste from our water. However, if we have a lot of positively or negatively charged ions, heavy metals, or contaminants like arsenic or chromium, then we need something that has electroadhesion or some ion exchange. So that way we can pull the positive or negatively charged contaminants out of the water. Now, there is a very conventional way of filtering water using physical filtration only. And some people think that it is the gold standard of water filtration, but you're going to find out just how bad reverse osmosis or any filtration system that relies purely on physical membranes or physical separation of the water and the contaminants in it. So reverse osmosis is praised to be a good filtration system, but there's many drawbacks to the filtration system called reverse osmosis, such as water wasting and infection of the actual water filtration system itself, which I don't need to explain, or I don't need to, you don't need to be a scientist to know that if your water filtration system is getting infected and growing bacteria, it's actually going to put more contaminants into the water system than it does remove it. And that's what we're actually seeing from some of the studies of the universities that are doing this water testing. There was one water test where they tested 6 of the most popular systems, and it wasn't just 1 or 2, but 4 of them had failed. And they were actually showing more contaminants in the water after the filter system was installed. And then University of Duke did another study, and they did over 68 or I think another 13 point of use whole house systems, and they saw that the difference that the filter systems made was very large, meaning they varied between the different machines. So it goes to say, what is a truly good water filter system, and how can we ensure that it actually works until the end of life? And that's the biggest secret that most of the water filter companies aren't going to tell you, is most of the water filter companies, they test or they brag about how they perform at the first few gallons or when they first install the device. But what they don't tell you is most of the water contaminant issues or any of the viruses or bacteria, when it hits the filter membrane and a lot of water passes through it, it's only giving the bacteria and viruses more water to grow. And what we have over time, it doesn't take months or years. Just in the matter of a few short weeks, we have bacteria, virus, and things that are growing on the filter membrane. So if we don't have a filter or a cartridge that's designed to prevent any of the biosludge or bioburden from growing, it's only a matter of time and a few short weeks before we have a water filter that's introducing more contaminants into the water system than it was supposed to protect it from. So we want to understand most water filtration systems are actually flawed, and getting a cheap or an outdated water filtration system can actually be doing you more harm than good. So that's kind of the message of this video. We'll go in much more in depth on what the actual filtration materials are, the pros and cons of the different filtration materials, and what are the recommended water filtration systems or water filtration types that you should even be looking for and what you should avoid. Okay, so when it comes to the popular water filtration methods out there, they come in 3 different categories for the conventional types. And although they're good, they're better than nothing. We want to look at the conventional types, and then we want to look at the modern or the updated filtration types. So the conventional types rely on just one method of filtration, or maybe they have 2. Maybe they have 2 of these methods stacked on top of each other. But the conventional methods are using some kind of activated carbon. It's great for odor and taste, but it's not really good for the positive and negatively charged contaminants that you see in the water today, especially next to factories and a lot of these Superfund or contamination sites that we see. The second method that is made really popular is reverse osmosis. Now, reverse osmosis was really good at cleaning up contaminants when it was just virus and bacteria. But now we have a lot of contaminants today that it doesn't matter how small you make the holes, it's going to pass through the water filter. And then the biggest problem with reverse osmosis is not just the fact that it wastes a lot of water. The membranes themselves tend to grow bacteria and virus, and that's just not a good sign or a good recipe for success. And then the third one is ion exchange. These are those big tanks that you see. And they're designed to, as you push the water through these beads, they pull the positive and the negatively charged contaminants out of the water. And so that way you have clean and conditioned water for you to drink that's free from these contaminants. Now, all of this sounds good, but very many systems put all 3 of these different types of filtration together. And even when you have all 3 of these different types of filtration, if you're not doing something to prevent the virus, the bacteria, or the bioburden from growing, you're going to have a situation in which the contaminants actually clog the filter and actually put more contaminants into the water than you're wanting to remove. So what's the solution? We want a system that has not just 1 or 2, but all 3 or even 4 factors of filtration installed. And it doesn't hurt to put in additional UV or additional carbon tanks to add or improve the taste. But the most important thing is not just putting 3 or 4 factors of filtration together, is ensuring that they're designed to work not just when they're installed, but designed to work until the end of life. And I think that's the most important thing. It doesn't matter if we have a filter, if it's actually recontaminating or adding contaminants to our water. We want a filter that's designed not just to hold the contaminants back, but designed to work until the very end of its life, holding the contaminants back, removing the contaminants from the water, and preventing the contaminants from actually leaving the filter. There's very few filter and purification systems that do this. I have a purification company that I found. It took me over 8 years to find this, and it was a NASA developed project in which they developed this membrane. And it's not even fair to call it a membrane, it's really a water filter cartridge. And it ensures the water isn't just filtered, it's purified. So if you really want the next level filtration, and you want something that's going to be a giant leap forward in the way that you filter and purify your water, there is no better recommendation that I could say or recommend than getting a Go Bio Hydro filter system. It not just filters your water, it purifies your water and prevents bacteria and contamination from growing on it. Take care, and we'll see you on the next video.